let's dive into Overreaction Tuesday. First off, we need an intro. So if anybody wants to come up with a cool intro and send it to us, please do so. It would be sick. And second off, I'm very excited. Last week's was awesome. You guys claimed that you really enjoyed it, and I'm very grateful for that. Nick's very grateful for that. We had a blast doing it. We're excited for round 2 here. Overreaction Tuesday, week 6, Pittsburgh Steelers, Las Vegas Raiders. We'll kick it off now.
Just as we did last week, I have 3. We have 5 from the listeners, which thank you to everybody that submitted overreactions over the last 24 hours.
Yes,
but let's start with mine really quickly. First and foremost, running back injuries to Jalen Warren and Cordero Patterson are hurting the Steelers' run game more than the offensive line injuries.
Can they go hand in hand? Could they go hand in hand? I think that's a question there. I would say yes. I do. I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, not having anybody who could get around the edge, not having anybody who could change the pace, not having anybody who might go out for a pass and could let the defense know, yeah, maybe I'm going to run it, but maybe I'm not going to run it. You don't have to run blitz this. I think it would benefit them. I think it would benefit them a ton, actually. And while the offensive line isn't great, I don't think they're awful. And I think they have potential to get better by each week. And Najee just seems to be hitting less holes and finding less momentum by the week. And maybe he's banged up. Maybe defenses have figured him out. Who knows? But I would say that's not an overreaction. If I had to pick between the two of what one the Pittsburgh Steelers need more, it is not a better offensive line. It is another running back who could help and take some of that workload off Najee and maybe get something going in some facet in the run game.
Let's jump over to the second one. Staying on the offensive side of the football, Pat Freiermuth scored a touchdown for the second consecutive game. The Steelers must target him no less than 6 times per game to find success with the current way that they're lined up.
Yeah, look at they have to get these tight ends involved. Their best offense comes from the tight end position. Connor Hayward included. Their best offense comes from the tight end position. Calvin Austin should be involved more. Van Jefferson, I still think, should be off the field. And I don't care what you're doing with George at this point, because sometimes you're going to get good George and sometimes you're not going to get good George. The tight ends are as consistent as they come right now. The tight ends and Najee Harris, like, that's your offense. And it's not the best offense. It's not the offense you wanted. It's not the offense that I think goes and wins you a Super Bowl, but it's the offense you got. And that's the offense you got to roll with right now. And I think that is the way to go. 6 times a game, easy. I don't know what Travis Kelce averages a game, but it should be those type of numbers. Give me 6 to 10 passes, 6 to 10 targets each game. Pat Freiermuth should be finishing games with, 6, 7 receptions for 80-plus yards every single week. And he's paid to do so. He is not paid to sit here and block. He's not paid to be George Kittle. But I would say that is not an overreaction. The Pittsburgh Steelers desperately need Pat Freiermuth more involved.
All right, I got one more overreaction, then we'll jump over to the listeners. The Steelers gave up 445 total yards of offense on Sunday. Without a reliable pass rusher opposite TJ Watt, this defense is in deep trouble moving forward.
Yeah, 3 for 3, not an overreaction here. That's a good start. You don't have Nick Herbig. You don't have Alex Highsmith. Jeremiah Moon is going to be that guy. You see what happens when a defense can focus solely on TJ Watt, and it is not good. It's not good. It's not taking anything away from TJ. TJ is the best defensive player in football. It's just the Steelers' defense is built to penetrate the quarterback. The Steelers' defense is built for edge rushers to get home, and they're not right now. And it's because you don't have anybody opposite of TJ. Even Nick Herbig banged up before he got banged up again. They're in trouble. This defense is in trouble. We've seen what happens when TJ goes out. Well, now we're going to see what happens when nobody is alongside TJ, which we've seen in years past. We've seen the Derek Tushkas and the Taco Charltons lined up on the other side of TJ Watt, and they have not looked good. Things have looked real bad. We've seen the bad Bud Dupree days when TJ Watt was out there and it was just TJ Watt. It's just not the same defense. This defense is built from the outside linebackers out. It's tough stuff. I'm gonna say I agree with that one. That is another not overreaction. And I'll give you a glimpse of hope. Jeremiah Moon is not it. to Marvin Leal, you're going to need, and that's nothing against Jeremiah Moon. I think he's a good special teamer. I think he's a good depth piece. Sometimes depth pieces should not be starting. He'd be the fourth outside linebacker on this roster. You can't look at that guy and say he's going to be a superstar. You have everybody else healthy. And I think at this point, Patrick Queen is hitting the point where he is going to start, like, he's got to be pissed off. He's got to be super pissed off that everybody is talking smack on him constantly. It's warranted. It's warranted to talk smack and say that he's not living up to the expectations or his contract. But I think he's going to have one hell of a game. And I hope Alex Highsmith comes back next week. But I would give you that glimpse of hope to say maybe they can make up for the loss because their inside linebacker play could just be that gnarly. But they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Let's go over to our listener overreactions and start with Steelers Girl 277, who said Pickens is clearly a problem. If he is, quote, jogging to catch a ball and not blocking, he is certainly not a Steeler.
That is definitely not an overreact. There's nothing about look it. I talk to these guys every day. This is a take that if it somehow makes its way to everybody in that locker room, they're going to be very upset with me. I get it. But there is no part of me that has ever thought George Pickens would be here longer than his rookie contract because he's not going to want to be here longer than his rookie contract. There has never been a part of me that thinks George Pickens loves living in the city of Pittsburgh and fits that blue collar mentality. And there's just no part of me that feels that he buys into everything that this team brings and everything that this team does. It just, you get the sense of these guys. TJ Watt will live in Pittsburgh the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Ben Roethlisberger it made it known, I'm never leaving this city. Like, that's just where we are. It's what we do. Cam Hayward is literally Pittsburgh. And you have a bunch of those guys. And to be honest, I thought Deontay Johnson was one of those guys. I thought Deontay Johnson was a dude who probably didn't want to live here the rest of his life, but enjoyed being a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers and bought into the hard work and the upcomer and the underdog mentality and so on and so forth. And you get a lot of those guys who show you that. George Pickens has never shown me that. I've never gotten that from him. And I've thought for a long time that unless the Steelers balled out on an offer, he was heading elsewhere to say, screw you guys, I could care less. So I agree. I don't think George Pickens is a true Steeler in the sense of the term. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something that scares you? For me, it's the obvious ones. Death, loss, failure. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us, but what about those fears that don't involve zombies and ghosts? Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears while finding ways to overcome them, because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. I'm somebody who's benefited from therapy for a long time, and I've been an advocate for therapy for years, and I'm excited to tell you guys about BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/allsteelers today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/allsteelers.
So right now we are 4 for 4 non-overreactions. I have a feeling with the next 4 to close out this segment that we're going to get close to tying things up. Let's start with Stephen Cornfield, who says Arthur Smith will be fired at the end of this season.
I'm going to say that's an overreaction. We're 5 weeks in. The first 3 weeks didn't look terrible. The last 2 weeks have looked, but the second half of Colts looked pretty good too. I'm going to say that's an overreaction. I'm going to say Justin Fields saves his job. Okay. I'm also going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to give up on him this easy. He has excuses. His excuses are the offensive line is banged up. His running back's not playing super hot. There are legitimate excuses to what's gone. There's no wide receiver help whatsoever. Even the guy that you want to be the wide receiver isn't the wide receiver. So there's no help there. I just say there are excuses to save his job right now. I don't think it's an overreaction. All right, I think it is an overreaction. I look at this and say it's 5 weeks in. The Steelers have they took 3 years to fire Matt Canada. Let's be honest. Okay, they're not going to fire Arthur Smith at the end of the season. I don't think he gets another job, but I don't think they fire him. I think they give him at least one more chance. And I'm gonna put a pin in it because I think in 6 weeks or so, we could be having conversations about Arthur Smith is the best thing to happen to the Steelers in X amount of years. I think there's still possibilities for that.
Let's go over to Samuel, who said the Pickett Canada fourth quarter clutch offense is better than the Smith Fields clutch offense. Change my mind.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Look at the Matt Canada Kenny Pickett fourth quarter offense was not the Matt Canada Kenny Pickett fourth quarter offense. Let's get that out of the way right now. Let's start there. That is a Mike Tomlin let Kenny Pickett do one thing his rookie year of training camp, and that was run 2-minute drills. That was it. If there was a 2-minute drill, Kenny Pickett was out there. You want to know why? Because Mike Tomlin knew he stunk at everything else. But if there was 2 minutes left in a football game, he was gonna make sure he was gonna go win it. That's what he wanted him to do. We talked about it on this show for a full year about how Kenny Pickett is a winner because the Steelers ingrained in him be a winner. They didn't ingrain anything else. And if we're gonna be even more honest, I mean, Justin Fields went out and won that game on Sunday. He went down and he did the Kenny Pickett, Matt Canada 2-minute drill, and he won the game. The problem was the defense lost the game after it. And that's what we were looking at. So that is a massive overreaction. I know that they were looking, you're looking to bite. I bet that is an overreaction. Justin Fields is 10 times more talented than Kenny Pickett is. And that's not, I like Kenny Pickett. I hope him the best. I hope he succeeds in Philly. He's not a starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields deserves to be. And Arthur Smith, man, I mean, you've seen the adjustments. You've seen the plays at times that look like they're good. You never saw any of that from Matt Canada. You want to know when you saw it in the Steelers offense last year when they put up 420 yards, 421 yards to be exact, against whoever it was. The first game Matt Canada wasn't there. That's when you saw the change. So massive overreaction there.
All righty, let's go over to Chris, who says the Steelers need to talk J.J. Watt into joining the team with his brother after Nick Herbig is put on IR, and they will become the #1 defense in the league.
Yeah, you thought we were going to tie it up. We're not. The Steelers should do that. They should do that immediately. They should call J.J. Watt right now and say, dude, why not? Why would you not? We meet all the we check all the boxes. We meet all the qualifications. Super Bowl contending team. Check. Needs a defense. Miserably needs a defense. Check. Has the players around him to be elite, to be absolutely elite. Check. Mike Tomlin. Check. TJ Watt. Check. Big injury that says we need you to come help us win a Super Bowl. Check. They're all there. This is the opportunity JJ has been waiting for. The only issue is that if I'm JJ Watt, I want to go play for Houston way more than I want to play for Pittsburgh because Houston looks like they're going to go actually win the Super Bowl. Pittsburgh looks like 3 weeks ago they were going to go win the Super Bowl, and today we're hoping that they make it to the playoffs. That's where we sit. But Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig banged up. I expect Nick Herbig to miss a pretty significant amount of time, and I don't look at Alex Highsmith as coming back to be 100% next week, even if he does play. I think it's more so a work your way through the season and just try to get through it. Why not? Why would you not call him? I mean, I think it makes all the sense in the world. Not an overreaction. I know that you wanted it to be one. Not an overreaction. Go call JJ Watt.
I said it was going to be close, and it might end up being still closer than it looked at the outset. Let's finish it off with Carl Spackler, who says, we are just not a good football team at every level. The coaching lacks, the execution lacks, and it starts with coaching and works its way down. But I just think that we are a bad football team.
There are parts of this that are not an overreaction, but the whole general thing of it is an overreaction simply because the Steelers are not a bad football team. In fact, they're a much better football team than many bad football teams. The New York Jets are a bad football team. The New Orleans Saints are a bad football team. The Cleveland Browns are a bad football team. They make bad football decisions. They do drastic bad things constantly. And no matter what, they're going to be miserable. And I I sit here right now and I say the Steelers were a poorly coached team this past weekend. Mike Tomlin coaches his team poorly quite a bit these days. Not going to say that he doesn't. Doesn't take enough accountability. Doesn't put enough accountability on his players. There's drama. But at the end of the day, they make good football moves. They build their team very well. They win, which is the bottom line. All you're looking to do is win. They win. They don't win it all, but they win. And if they had to teeter the line of an average team, yeah, we could say they're an average team. But a bad team, the Browns are a bad team. The Browns are a very bad team. The Steelers are a 3-2 football team coming off 2 bad losses, tough losses to take, ones that hurt you. They hurt your soul a little bit. I feel it. But they're not a bad football team. I'm going to say that one's an overreaction. I don't know if that tied it up, but I think we did get close.
It's 5-3. I want to get a little bit closer here with this final one. Terry Jones says, overreaction. Roman Wilson is a bust.
Almost made me choke on that one. Just trying to hydrate a little bit. Talking a lot. The jaw's getting all locked up here. No, I mean, that's hilarious, but that's an overreaction. That's hilarious, but that's an overreaction. We got to see him play, you know? The ankles are a bust. We'll say that much. The ankles are a bust for sure.